What is going on, guys? How is everybody out there in YouTube land? So I made a video, I think it was about 2 months ago now. Probably, yeah, about 2 months ago on my channel about how I got love bombed by a Filipina. That video was basically talking about how I met this young lady, and I mean lady, not a girl. She's in her 40s, and you know, for me anyway, that is better than somebody younger. In the Philippines, typically older guys like myself are trying to, you know, link up with a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, or even a 30. And I just don't feel like they have the maturity level. You know, the frontal cortex of decision making and rational decisions that you make in life is not really fully developed until you're about 25. So I just feel like somebody older would be more in line with what I want out of life. And I thought I had that person. I thought I was given a gift, that I had been searching for years and years and years, that never came my way. And then I felt like it was just dropped in my lap one day. I had known her at the point we really got serious. I had known her for almost 3 years. When I say 3 years, it wasn't a solid 3 years. It was the times that I would come there and she would spend my birthday with me and spend time with me until she didn't, because she always seemed to have to go away. So she would ask me typically after maybe 4 or 5 days with me, you know, hey, I have to go home and take care of some business. And I'm like, okay, when are you gonna come back? And she's like, you tell me. So as I said on my other video, I would send her away, or she would go away, and I would tell her come back on Monday. Monday would come and go. I wouldn't hear from her until I hit her up finally, you know, by Friday. And it's like, where are you? Like, you're supposed to be here already with me. Like, I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm trying to be respectful of her, not get with anybody else. But at the same token, you just disappear. You just ghosted me. And then, oh, you know, oh yeah, I have this taken care of, and I got to take care of that, and it took me longer than I thought. But the biggest problem that I had with her is the communication. And I mentioned that on the other video. The communication was very, very slack, to where if you say you're going to do something and you know you can't ahead of time. And so you reach back to the other person, you're like, you know what, some things came up, I'm not going to be able to make it Monday. Monday, you should be telling me this. Or at the latest, Tuesday, right? And she wouldn't do that. So, was it red flags to me? Not necessarily. I know she's, you know, busy with her business and, you know, taking care of people around her home and stuff like that. So I didn't really give her too much, you know, of a hard time in the beginning. But when that kind of behavior continued, I'm like, you know, let me back off a little bit. Let me not put my all. Let me take time with this girl, with this woman, because she doesn't seem to be, it didn't feel like I was a priority. And I remember last year we had that discussion about how I felt like, you know what, everything in your life takes precedence over me. You know, it's either your mom or your stepfather or your daughter. Now it's their grandbaby, then it's the chickens, then it's, you know, like, it's always something, but it's never me. Those would be red flags to a normal person, but I like to give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I like to give a little bit of rope for somebody to hang themselves. And it finally happened. It finally happened because, and I explained this on my other video, and I'm going to get into why I'm doing a follow-up video now. It finally happened because when I left back in the end of February, we had gone by a travel agency trying to get her a visa. And I asked the travel agency, what is the easiest, the best visa to get? Because at that point, I was going to marry her. I'm going to get into part of that story in a few minutes. They told me the K1 visa is a little bit more difficult. You know, they have different type of visas for Filipinas. They got a work visa, they got a tourist visa, they have the K1 visa for the marriage. You know, there's a student visa, all these other type of visas. And they told me that the travel visa, the tourist visa, was the easiest to get, especially in this day and age of this buffoonery that goes on with getting people here. So she was with me. She was with me. I took her there with me, and I got an application. And also I explained on the other video that she had already applied for her passport. That's a whole long story I won't get into, but she had applied for a passport at that point. And I asked her before I left, when do you think it'll come? And she said by the end of next month, which is basically March. I think she told me the beginning of the month. Well, sometime in March anyway, that her passport would be coming. So I'm like, cool. So we filled out, on the application, all the information on her end. My information was going to be happening once I got back here, because the one thing that was missing that's the most important was her passport number. So I couldn't fill that part in until she got it. The whole month of March went by, and toward the end of March, I'm like, hey, what's going on with your passport? She's like, oh, it's been bumped up until the next month, March, April. Okay, April. And I explained this on my other story, how her passport rather, had actually arrived the first week of April. I don't know what day, 4th, 5th of April. And she never told me. So we generally text, or, well, she doesn't voice note, which I don't know why, but we generally text, or I'll send a voice note or something like that almost on a daily at that point. And I had asked her at one point toward the first week of April, the end of the first week of April, hey, what's going on with your passport? And she's like, oh, I got it. I'm like, really? So you're not even going to tell me you got it? Like, we've been waiting on this now for a month and a half. And you should be excited about it. Not only that, but you should have taken a picture of it. Well, send me a picture. She's like, I don't have one. What do you mean you don't have one? It's the first Philippine passport you've ever had in your life. Why would you not take a picture of it? Why would you not be proud? Okay. Well, send me a picture when we hang up. And she's like, well, I can't do that because it's at my auntie's. Like I told you, I had spent some time at my auntie's house, and she's like 2 hours away. And I'm like, okay, all right. So when we hang up, contact your auntie and have her send a picture and then forward it to me. She's like, okay. Unbeknownst to me, but she knew it, or at least it was an excuse anyway. You know, the next day, maybe, I don't know, it was 2 days later, I didn't want to stress her out, but, you know, hey, where's that picture you promised me? Oh, I locked up my passport and she can't get to it. I'm like, you locked up your passport at your auntie's house 2 hours away. If I didn't trust her, that would have been, for me, a red flag. If this was somebody I just met out of the blue, or I met last month or something like that, that would have been a red flag to me. Because the excuses why she couldn't get it were just driving me crazy. So I said to her at a certain point, going forward a couple weeks, why don't you spend the 2 hours on the road? Why don't you go out there, wake up at 5 in the morning, you know, tell everybody I'm going to leave, because her excuse was, basically, she's a prisoner of her house. Like, nobody does any cooking there except her. Apparently, the stepfather had a couple of relatives come over, and she was relegated to be Cinderella. In other words, cooking and cleaning and taking care of the chores and taking care of this and taking care of that and all that stuff. And so in her absence, people would miss her, or her responsibilities that she apparently took on herself. So then I'm thinking to myself, well, Why is everything a priority except for me? Why, when I ask you to do something, and I've never asked this woman to do anything for me, this is the only thing I've asked her to do. That you can't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get on a bus, taxi, whatever, you know, get out there to your auntie's house 2 hours away, you know, spend an hour there to visit, and then spend 2 hours coming back. You'd be back by 11 a.m. at noon latest. For half a day, not even half a day, they wouldn't even miss you. Well, maybe they would miss you, but they're not gonna. And she didn't do it. So there was a certain point that I blocked her on WhatsApp because I could not get the one thing that I wanted from her, is that passport number. And at a certain point, she had apparently was talking about going out to her auntie's house, that she was going to run away from home and go out to her auntie's house and stay there. And, you know, everything would be better at that point. At a certain point, maybe 2 weeks later or so, you know, we had exchanged a couple of emails back and forth, and she asked me to unblock her on WhatsApp, so I did. And I said, so, what's going on with your passport? And she said, well, when you blocked me, there was really no point of going. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You were gonna go live with your auntie, right? Which would have made it easier. Now you can get your hands on the passport and send me a picture. You were gonna go live with her. And now you're telling me that because I blocked you, you decided you're not gonna go to your auntie's? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about her that I don't know, because she's only telling me what she's willing to give up information-wise. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. But the simplicity of a passport picture, just the number, I don't even need the picture, but the number I need for that application that I've been holding in my hand since mid-February. Mid-February. We're in June. March, April, May, June. We're coming into July pretty soon. 5 months. I haven't seen the picture yet. I haven't seen the passport. I don't have the number. So eventually I just gave up. Eventually I just decided, you know, chasing down somebody that doesn't want to be chased just drives you crazy. And so I just started backing off. And so even though we were still communicating on WhatsApp, I backed off. So it would be typically, she would hit me up her morning, my evening, you know, hey, good morning, and I would say, hey, good evening, you know, kind of opposite time frame and all that stuff. And I'm like, hi. I would just say hi. And then she's like, you know, oh, I got to go take care of this today, or got to take care of that. I'm like, okay, be careful. Like, I would just hyphenate my responses. It wasn't all the lovey-dovey stuff that we used to share. It wasn't all the hearts and I love you so much and I can't, you know, oh, I miss you, and all that lovey-dovey stuff went away because I decided to back off, because my heart was in it. And what I said earlier about the marriage thing, I had done so much for this woman. When I was there, her birthday is February 18th. So not only did I take her out on a date on February 14th, Valentine's Day, which I haven't done in years and years and years. Even when I was married, we didn't do anything on Valentine's Day. But I took her out to dinner, I bought her some chocolates, I bought her a card, you know, I got her some jewelry. I treated her so good on Valentine's Day. 4 days later, on the 18th, was her birthday. And same thing, we drove, God, I don't remember how long it was, 3-hour drive or somewhere like that, out to the coast, where there was this restaurant we had eaten at before when we were on a little mini vacation. And I literally drove out there, got a hotel the night before, for the sole purpose of going back to that same restaurant because we loved it so much and they had good food. And I got down on my knee. It was kind of impromptu because I knew I was going to propose to her, but the wait staff were the people that made it more than I had anticipated. They were really, really on point. She had walked away to go to the bathroom, and I said, do you guys have like any candles, birthday cake, or anything like that I can give her. Oh, it's her birthday? I'm like, yeah. What's her name? So they put her name on this board, you know, that said happy birthday and all this stuff, and 5 of them with the staff came out, sang her happy birthday, you know, all the whistles and bells and all that stuff, and it was really, really nice. And then I handed my phone to one of the staff, and I had her videotape me getting on my knee and proposing to her, because I thought I had the one. I thought I finally found my life mate, the person that would stay with me forever and ever and ever. In fact, she even texted me shortly after I left. She sent me this I'm going to show it. And the reason that I showed it is because it is such a lie. It is such a lie. Like, when people talk about breadcrumbing, this isn't a breadcrumb. This is a whole loaf of bread. She threw a whole loaf of bread at me, not just a crumb, to get me to hang on. For whatever reason that she has, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I gave her a wedding ring, not a real one, cubic zirconium, and I told her that when we get married for real, which would either happen in the Philippines or here, that I would trade that out, I would take it back from her, and I would get her a real one. So the idea of her being engaged and having the visa application was in an effort for her to come here, not necessarily get married right off the bat, but to come here in June or July and see if she could assimilate to America. See if she could, see what her thoughts were about living here. So she would be here for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, for a month, and then I would send her back. And then I would go back in the wintertime and I'd bring my paperwork, and I would bring my birth certificate and all that stuff that I need in order for us to get married and all this stuff, and then go through the process of making that happen. But I couldn't even get her to show me a passport picture. And it was very, it kind of threw me. It still does today. It still does, because I don't know how, you know, there are men that can use women out there. There are men that could definitely use women, and when the use is done, they just throw them away like a piece of garbage. It's a little different in my mind how a woman can use a man like that, and the intimacy that we shared. And I'm not just talking about sex, I'm talking about the intimacy, holding hands, her holding my shoulders while walking down the road, her grabbing up my coffee and a bag that I have in my hand, let me carry that for you. Like, all that respect that she showed me, all the intimacy that she showed me, you know, wanting to cuddle up with me in bed and wanting to, you know, like when we watch a movie, just be by my side. That intimacy. How do you fake that as a woman? How do you fake that kind of closeness? That's why this whole thing throws me. Because on one hand, it's very, very, very hard for a woman to love you if she doesn't respect you. In fact, I would say it's impossible. A woman cannot love you unless she respects you. And I feel like I had her respect, but I didn't have her love. Which is weird, because a man can do that. A man can love you without respecting you, but a woman doesn't work that way. So how she's able to fake all of that intimacy and all that closeness and all that stuff and not mean it, it just throws me. It throws me in a lot of different ways. The things that I did for her, when I said that a woman has a hard time using a man, I'm not talking about material stuff. She never really asked for anything. There were a couple of short encounters where she had talked about her freezer that she keeps her chickens in was not working, and you know, she needed a freezer and all this other stuff, and she came to me kind of tiptoe, right? She didn't ask me straight up. A lot of women will talk about their problem and hope that you're the Superman to rescue them from their problem that they're having. And I went through a lot of that in Jamaica. I have a 20-year history there, and I've been there, done that. So I wasn't going to feed into the manipulation that some women can do. So basically I said, yeah, you know, a reach-in freezer, oh my God, that's kind of pricey. You know what, we'll talk about that when I get there. This is going back last year in whatever, November, December. On her birthday night, because we had shopped around. We had gone to different malls, we had been on road trips and all that stuff, and every time we were in a mall, we saw an appliance store, we would kind of price out a reach-in freezer. And they were typically about 20,000 peso, 25,000 peso or so. So I never got her the freezer, but on the night of her birthday, I gave her an envelope and it had 30,000 peso in it. So I said to her, this is your birthday present. You can go buy your freezer now or not. You can do something else with the money, but buy yourself something because this is your birthday. So it wasn't like me to solve the problems for her. It was like me to do things for her on my own that I felt were either not wanted, that were kind of needed. For example, we were at the mall one day and there was a point a couple of times where she was having a hard time reading. I was like, oh, look at that billboard. Look what that billboard said. And she says, I can't see it. I can't. I'm like, after 3 or 4 times of her struggling with seeing something far away, we were at the mall one day and I guided her toward this optometrist office where they do, you know, eye screening and all that stuff. They sell, you know, reading different types of glasses and stuff like that. So she pushed back a little bit, but finally decided she would go in there. And they gave her an eye test and found out she needed corrected vision for, you know, seeing far away. And got her glasses that day. And they helped exponentially. They really did help her. I don't know what I spent on that. It doesn't even really matter. It was probably, you know, 15,000 peso or however much it was. It doesn't really matter. The point was that I proactively, she didn't ask me for that, I proactively did that for her because I cared about her. There was a lot of things that I don't want a woman to, you know, especially if she doesn't have any money in her pocket or whatever, I don't want her, you know, hey Bobby, can you get, hey, I need a candy bar, or I don't want her to do that. So typically I would just, you know, give her 4,000 or 5,000 pesos so that she has her own money. And oftentimes she was like, what's that for? I'm like, in case you need something. And she's like, no, I don't need anything. And I would put it back in my pocket. But she knew she was taken care of. She knew no matter what that that she would be okay with me. And that was part of her refusing. And I think it was also a respect thing too. But it's just odd that I would, you know, like I had a Bluetooth speaker that I had bought when I got there. And I gave that to her before I left because I wasn't going to bring it back here. I've got one here, so I didn't need it. So I just gave it to her. She wasn't expecting that. She had a little wired type of thing when she was on the phone with me on video chat. It was wired headphones and all that stuff. So I got her some Bluetooth, some wireless Bluetooth that she could put in. Those little things along the way was just to make her life easier, which is typical behavior for me. I just see a struggle, the struggle with the eye thing, and I solve it. I see the struggle with the wires and it not working properly, and so I solve it. I see whatever it is that she struggled with, I would fix it for her. That's just my personality. That's what I do for my friends and you know, women I've dated through the years and stuff like that. That's just how I am. But it wasn't like a quid pro quo type of relationship. You do for me and I do for you. It was more of a romantic, what I thought was a deep-seated feeling about each other that we were going to be one forever. That we were truly in love with each other. And on the other video, I had also talked about her possibly having another man. Because it just felt like the time and attention that I was not getting from her after I left. In other words, I have people here, I have only a few friends. But the ones that I do have, we talk constantly. I have a friend here I talk to probably 3-4 times a week for at least an hour each time. Even if it's only 30 minutes, it's 4 or 5 times a week. Her and I, to go on a video chat, we've done twice. We've done 2 times since I've been back. 2 times in almost 6 months. So I don't know how much effort and time and energy that a normal person would expect, but the time and effort and energy that I put into her is not being reciprocated. It is not being, I'm feeling like she's keeping me dangling on a string. The breadcrumbing, you know, where she hits me up on WhatsApp and she talks about a problem that she's having. You know, the last time we had spoken was a month ago, and she told me that she was sick, and she showed me a picture that she was apparently, I guess, in a clinic or a hospital or something like that, and I didn't respond to it. I didn't respond to it because we had a conversation shortly after I posted that last video on my channel, and I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen it. Shortly after I posted that video, she hit me up and she basically said, everything you said on that video was a lie. I didn't mention her name, and I'm still not mentioning her name. But she knew that video was about her, and she watched it. And she told me everything that I said on that video was a lie. And she said, I don't have a man. I don't have another man. So I said, you know, we need to talk. And so we eventually planned a video chat. And this was over a month ago now. And we talked for about an hour and a half or so. And I thought we kind of sorted some things out. She basically said, I don't have a man. I didn't get back with my ex-boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, tell me about the other stuff I said on the video, because, you know, what about the passport thing? What about this? What about that? And she kind of, I don't remember the conversation exactly, but she kind of blew it off like, you know, it wasn't something that she felt like she needed to defend or whatever, but she kind of blew off the other points of contention that I had. And I basically said, and she said, you know, you don't know my life here. You have it so easy with your life, because she doesn't know my life. You have it so easy with your life, and I have all these responsibilities, and I have my stepfather, and, you know, he's sick all the time, and, you know, he's got a CPAP machine and all this other stuff, and blah, 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 blah. Then I have my daughter, and she's still in school, and, you know, then my grandchild that I got to take care of, and blah, 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 and I'm thinking about getting the chicken business again, and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, so basically I was right. I'm down below the chickens. My priority with you is below the chickens. Well, why don't you just move here? It would be so much easier if you moved here. Duh, for you, but not for me. I would have to sell off everything I own. I would have to sell my house. I would have to sell my trucks. I would have to sell my tool, everything I own to move there. I can't reverse that. If something doesn't work out in 5 years from now, or even 2 years from now, I can't reverse that. I can't then come back here and have the same type of money to repurchase a house and to repurchase the vehicles and get my life sorted out. I can't do that. So then she talked about, well, you could always rent out your house. Really? So I'm going to rent out my house. We came to a compromise. I could come to the Philippines for, say, 5 months in the wintertime. You know, come there in October, November, December, January, February. Maybe March. Then come back here where I wouldn't have to sell my house or rent it out, and then take care of my business here for the next 5 months or 6 months. That was a compromise that I think we were kind of working on at that point of the conversation. But at the end of the day, what I heard from her is all of the stuff that you have going on in your life is your priority. From your mom to your stepdad to your, you know, daughter to your grandson to everything that goes on in your life currently is your priority. It is not me. I am not a priority in any way, shape, or form. So I basically, not in these exact words, but I basically said to her, you know what, I tell you what, when you're ready for me, when you're ready for a husband, when you're ready for a soulmate, a life partner, when you're ready for that, hit me up. It might be 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. I don't know. If I'm still around and I don't have somebody in my life, hit me up. And if I'm free, maybe we can make it work again. And that's kind of how I ended the conversation, because I just felt like I was being played. I felt like whatever reason that she has to have acted through all of the time we spent together, because she did definitely act through all of that stuff, what was the point? I'm still confused about that. I still don't know. I would love to have sent her a voice note the last time she hit me up about her being sick, and then I think a day later she said that her power was out, and I didn't respond to either one of them. And in kind, she hasn't responded back to me. It's been over a month, and she has not responded back to me either. We've had no communication now for a month. I think in her mind, I've given up on her. And so I just decided, I didn't block her, but I just decided to cut off communication. But she doesn't know that. I could be in the hospital. I could be dead. There's a lot of stuff that could be going on with me. And has she picked up the phone to try and call me? Hey, hey, Bobby, how come you haven't responded to what I wrote? If she was really, really in love with me the way that she lied about telling me so, if she was really, really in love with me and really cared about me and really was on board with being together, she would have called. She would have emailed. She would have, the sky's the limit. When somebody cares about you that much, they're going to go out of their way to make that connection. I went out of my way. I never travel in January and February. Never have I traveled in those 2 months. But I traveled, and I went 8,000 miles out of my way and spent a bunch of money going to see her in January and February, and didn't step out on her either. I stayed loyal and I stayed true to her. Now I regret that decision. I felt like I should have, I don't know what I should have done. I'm confused by the whole thing. I felt like I was barraged by, as I said on my other video, this love bombing. I was barraged by the love bombing, and it worked. And it worked really, really well. But slowly but surely, through her actions or lack thereof, it's gone away. It's gone away because of her, not because of me. I would still be with her and communicating with her and showering her with love and affection and, planning my next trip and all that stuff and wanting to be with her if she had that same motivation to me. The one thing I asked for, the passport, so that she could come here in June or July, I can't get. The one thing. I don't know. I'm very confused by this whole situation. Now, as I said before, I wanted to send her a voice note at a point where I was dropping off communicating with her. But she's told me on previous occasion, when I send her a voice note, 12, 15, 20 minutes long, wow, such a long voice note. I'm not going to listen to that. I think she said that once or twice before. That's too long to listen to. Really. I would love for her to send me a 20-minute voice note. I would love to hear her talk in her own words about how she felt. I would love that. The longer the better. But in her mind, why can't I just wrap this up in like a 2-minute voice note or 1 minute? Because I can't. Just like this video, I tend to over-explain rather than under-explain. And I really want to send her a voice note telling her everything that I felt. But then I backed off because then she's going to complain about it's too long to listen to. So instead I do a video. It's therapeutic for me because I do truly, truly care about her, and I love her, but the love has managed to shrink a little bit based on her. It's managed to shrink. And at some point, if and when I meet somebody else, I can make that go away and not have to deal with it anymore. But, you know, I think about her on a daily. On a daily, I think about her. It's just been easier as the days have gone by to let it go, because it's going to drive me crazy if I put in all the time and effort and energy and emotion to somebody who doesn't reciprocate. It will drive me batshit crazy, and I don't want that. I've been through that before. It's horrible. It's horrible, horrible. And I don't want that for myself. So I got to protect myself and have a boundary. And that's the boundary that I set. I need to be shown the same love and affection and motivation that I showed to her. And I'm not seeing it. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if anybody else out there have dealt with that, whether they dealt with a foreigner or somebody here in America or whatever. You know, put your comments in the comment section. I would love to know from a woman's standpoint what this was all about. What the hell was this all about anyway? I would never do that to somebody. I would never pretend to be in love with somebody and care for them and be intimate with them and all that stuff for some other motive other than the reality. I couldn't fake that. I could not do that. I couldn't even do it. I don't use people. I couldn't even do it to try and get in to somebody, you know, for whatever reason that I had to get in. I wouldn't. If I don't have it, I can't get it on myself, I'm not going to try and get it from somebody else, and I'm surely not going to use their heart in order to make that happen. I just would not do that. That's cruel and unusual punishment. That's my take on it. Anyway, video went on long enough. I'm going to quit my pity party and move on with my day. Later, guys. Because I don't know how you could send me all these lovey-dovey texts and good morning, babe, and I miss you so much, and I'll be with you forever, and I love you, and I love you, and I love you, and blah, blah, blah. And then just throw me away like I don't even matter. Like, I don't know. You know, as I say on the end of this video, I'm confused. You know, if you really, really, really care about somebody and you really love them and you really want to be with them, you fight for that shit. You fight hard for it. You swim the deepest ocean and you climb the highest mountain and you do what you can to hold on to that person. And I don't see that. I don't see that motivation. Interestingly enough, and as I said, this is post-editing. I'm editing this video, this original video I made a week ago, and now it's a week forward. And it's been a month since I've communicated with her. A month. Saturday, which was only a couple of days ago, I get a phone call on my WhatsApp. And I look at my phone, and it's her. And it rings one time. One time it rang. So I thought, okay, she finally called me. I don't know if it was a butt dial. I don't know. So I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited to see if she called back. Because it only rang one time. So I don't know if she did that on purpose as an attention getter, and she wanted me to then call her. Let me just tease him with a one ring, and then that will bring him back into me, and then he'll call me. Like it was a breadcrumb. And it's been 3 days now. No follow-up call. Also interesting, for that whole month that there's been no communication, I post my status on WhatsApp. A little video of what I'm doing, or maybe something that I cooked, or whatever. And for the whole month, she's never looked at my status until that day. That night, I just happened to post my status. It was just a couple of short status things on WhatsApp. And for the first time in a month, she looked at my status. So not only did I get the one phone call in the morning, but then at nighttime, she went and looked at my status. And still nothing. 3 days later. Still hasn't reached out to me. I don't know if this is pride, if she's too proud, if I don't know. I don't know what she's about. Interesting too, the first video that I made of her, or that I talked about her, which is on my channel, and I'll post it in the description, she had commented on it. She watched the video and commented. And it simply said, "I love you." And I'm like, wow. So after I post a video calling her out, not by name, she knew it was about her, and then she chose to breadcrumb me again with "I love you." And that comment was there for quite a long time, meaning the video's only been up for about a month now. I just looked at that video recently. In the comment section, she deleted her comment. She said to me one time, because I was getting on to her about something, and she said, you know, "Hey, we're not in high school anymore." You know, she was a little upset about something that I said, or something that had happened, and she kind of pushed back a little bit, and she's like, "You know, we're not in high school anymore. We're not, you know, why are you being like this?" It was almost like I was being immature or something like that. But then what does she do? She pulls these little antics like she's in high school. Calls me one time, hangs up. Looks at my status, deletes the comment she was proud to put up, but now she deletes. I don't know. The whole thing is a mystery.